Good day, everybody. We now come to the end part of the presentation as I give you units 4 to 7 of our syllabus. I shall start with unit 4 with the teacher as a person in society. And when we speak of the teacher as part of society, we always think of the words ethics, morals, and morality, because every teacher is looked upon by the community as a person who possesses integrity, value, principles, responsibility, conscience, honor, and honesty. Every teacher is expected to possess all of these qualities and is in fact expected to possess even more. He has to be caring as he needs to give empathy to students, honest. He is expected to be a role model worthy to be emulated by the community. He is fair, flexible, dedicated, respectful, friendly, creative, enthusiastic, and most of all, he must have a good, likable personality. Moreover, every professional teacher must look into the provisions of the Code of Ethics. And may I emphasize that all the laws that I will be mentioning from here on, you guys are expected to look at them independently because of their length. And I need you to look at each law closely as they will be part of our comprehensive examination. Now, back to the Code of Ethics for professional teachers. This serves as our guide in how we deal with everybody in the community. In fact, it gives us a clear guidance on how teachers are expected to be in dealing with the state, the community, teacher, and the profession, the rest of the teaching community, higher authorities in the Philippines, school officials, teachers, and other personnel. It also gives us a guide on how to deal with the learners, especially in grading and the likes, and in dealing with parents, and whether or not we can engage in businesses to augment our income. And finally, the Code of Ethics reminds us as to what is expected of the teacher as a person. And so when we look back at ethics and the Code of Ethics, we then are able to look at teaching from various perspectives. Here, teaching becomes not only a profession, but also a mission and a vocation. So when we talk of teaching as a profession, it is expected that we have acquired the necessary competencies and skills. When we speak of teaching now as a mission, it means that we have accepted that this is our task in the world. And finally, when we say that teaching is a vocation, it is now a calling. And this calling is done in the service of mankind. And thus, not everybody can become an effective teacher. Moving forward to Unit 5, I will now transition from from the teacher as a person in society to the teacher now as a professional. And when we talk of the teacher as a professional, we always look at RA 7836. This embodies all the necessary requirements for a professional teacher with emphasis on the acquisition of the necessary license in order to teach. And this particular Republic Act also stipulates that every registrant is to take an oath before he practices the profession of teaching. Then, of course, we have the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers, or RA 4670, which contains all the rights, responsibilities, and duties expected of every public school teacher. And then we have the integrated system of education as captured in BP 232. And simply because the criteria of professional teachers is that they should not only possess a 4-year degree course in education, but that they are also licensed professionals or certified by the Professional Regulation Commission. Now, how are teachers able to manifest their being professionals? They always show empathy towards students, and empathy means that we try to understand where the other person is coming from. We stay committed and dedicated to the teaching profession. We become reflective practitioners. Now, what does that mean? It means that we don't really stay complacent with who and what we have become in our careers. In fact, we look at every day and we look at every action as a situation for us to look into whether what we did was right or wrong, or whether there was something else that could be improved. And thus, in the process, we become reflective. And then we never lose passion for teaching. Come what may, as you can see from the picture here, no matter the difficulties, no matter the challenges, effective teachers continue to push forward. Teachers enter the profession in the hope that they could influence the students to become better persons and live more meaningful life. And this, of course, again, is recognized by the government. And this is again to emphasize that teachers are governed by the code of ethics of professional teachers, providing for ethical behavior expected of the teachers for disciplinary purposes. The teachers, professional teachers, are also expected to become part of professional organizations so that they can network and they can improve their craft. Unit 6 now. Here I will briefly breeze through other laws relevant to the teaching profession. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you are expected to independently look into the provisions of all the laws that will be mentioned here, beginning with RA 10627, the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, so that every teacher understands what acts constitute bullying and whether we have a system of addressing bullying in our respective schools. RA 10931 now provides universal access to tertiary education. Then we have RA 10157, making kindergarten part of the basic education system. The Flag and Heraldic Act of the Philippines, or RA 8491. Magna Carta of Women, this RA 97110, that outlines the privileges of women, and RA 9262, which contains the acts considered as violent acts against women and their children. In fact, violence comes in many forms. Moving forward, every teacher, especially secondary teacher and tertiary teacher, because this is when this usually happens, must be cognizant of RA 7877, the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995. And then, of course, you have the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012. Everybody is aware of RA 10533, which cemented the 2 additional years in basic education. and of course RA 6728, which gives funds in support for private education. So these are among many others, and among many others still to come, are relevant laws that every teacher needs to be aware of in the practice of his teaching profession. Finally, we move to the last unit, which is on professionalism and transformative education. And this time, allow me to walk you through what is expected of the 21st century teacher. To be able to function better and carry instruction more effectively, the 21st century teacher is not only a resource provider nor an instructional and curriculum specialist. He also is a classroom supporter and a learning facilitator in the sense that he must see to it that everything in the classroom and every step carried out in this instructional process supports the learning of his students. The teacher is also a mentor, and he sees the teaching learning process as a way to share, not limit the students' knowledge, but actually share and enhance what the students already know. He is expected to lead, and he is also seen as a catalyst for change. But above all, the 21st century teacher is a learner. He continues to learn, he never stops to learn because he realizes that nobody really possesses finite knowledge. So when we look at the 21st century educator, he teaches for learning so that he tries to develop the critical thinking skills of students. He is a collaborator. He is expected to network with teachers not only in his locality, but with teachers across places all over the world so that he is able to benchmark and learn from others. He is a curator because he is expected to design and create and share resources. He is also expected to be technology savvy because he has to use available technology to make instructional delivery better. The 21st century educator is an experimenter. He is a risk taker. He is not afraid to try and fail, to try and fail, to try and fail, so that at the very end, he is able to come up with pedagogy that works best with the students. And lastly, he continues to look into research based studies and research based pedagogical approaches so that he can better deliver instruction. Another framework that every teacher must be aware of is the Philippine Qualifications Framework. And this is actually a framework that describes the levels of qualifications that one earns in the Philippine educational system. And this is good for everybody so that we are able to understand workers, teachers, learners, parents, and governments can understand the Philippine qualifications and thus be able to compare our qualifications with the qualifications of our ASEAN neighbors and the educational qualifications of the entire world. So this helps better in internalization and working in boundaryless classrooms. We come to the last part of the presentation as I now talk about the Philippine professional standards for teachers. I hope that you have a time in your class to really look at the PPST and what it stands for. But what is really the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers? This is a framework that captures teacher quality, and this reflects the expected competencies of teachers. It is a public statement of professional accountability, and it captures four career stages of teachers in their career path: beginning, proficient, highly proficient, and distinguished. It is seven domains, 37 strands, and 37 indicators for each career stage. Now, what does it mean when I talk of the career stages? This actually just reflects where the various teachers are right now in their career path in teaching. So we begin with, and my apologies for this one, this is supposed to be career stage one, the beginning teacher who just got his qualifications. And as the teacher progresses in the teaching field, our hope is to be able to reach career stage four, where we have teachers who embody the highest standards for teaching, grounded in global best practice, and lead colleagues in promoting quality teaching and learning. So the PPST captures the competencies expected of all these teachers in the various career stages in their field. The framework contains seven domains because it believes that for teachers to be effective educators in the 21st century, they have to be cognizant of all these domains, beginning with content knowledge and pedagogy, learning environment, diversity of learners, curriculum and planning, assessment and reporting, community linkages and professional engagement, and the last is personal growth and professional development. And just so everyone remembers the framework that the PPST was based upon, which was called the National Competency Based Teacher Standards, if we look at the domains captured in then NCBTS, the domains actually are still almost the same with the domains that we have under the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers. What just basically is different is the fact that in PPST, we now have competencies for the kinds of teachers and for the teachers in their various career stages, competencies expected for them to do. So it was not really a big change in terms of the domains, but more so of what our teachers are expected to do in the field as they progress in their career. So, what are the qualities expected of teachers based on the domains of the PPST? Of course, he is expected to know what to teach and how to teach it. So he has to know several strategies that would teach literacy and numeracy. He is expected to be adept, not just in the mother tongue, but in all mother tongue, Filipino, and English. In carrying out instruction, he has to have knowledge of research so that action research, especially so that he's able to address classroom problems and school problems based on research, based on conducted research. He has to possess strategies that develop students' critical and creative thinking. And of course, the teacher of the 21st century must be able to have communication strategies. In terms of responding to learner diversity, the 21st century teacher and the PPST expects each professional teacher to be able to still serve learners despite of their various linguistic, cultural, social, economic, and religious backgrounds. learners from difficult circumstances, and our IPs or indigenous groups. They are expected to maintain a learning focused environment, plan and design effective instruction based on the kinds of learners that they have, and to use a variety of assessment tools to inform and enhance the teaching learning process. So we don't only stick with a paper pencil, but we utilize as many kinds of assessment tools possible so that we are able to accurately measure the learning of students. Moreover, the PPST expects teachers to establish community relationships and uphold professional ethics as they engage in professional reflection and assume responsibility for personal professional learning. In summary, the Philippine Professional Standards for Teachers really captures teacher quality expected of every Filipino teacher. And with that, I end the presentation and I hope you guys understood this subject. I challenge all of you to devote time to look into the provisions of the laws that were mentioned in the presentation. Thank you and happy teaching.